YouTube? This is Charlie426, and today we have the review of the Premium Bandai exclusive, or P-Bandai exclusive, Master Grade Gundam Deathscythe EW Roussette unit, or Roussette unit. I've heard multiple pronunciations of it, so just bear with me. Okay, so first things first, I'm feeling much more better than yesterday, so sorry for, making you guys worry, and sorry about my voice on yesterday's review. So I received this kit, I think it's either 3 to 4 weeks ago, but because with all the new releases and all my backlog stuff, it took me a while to actually review this kit. So finally, here we go. So basically, I'm just going to say this right off the bat. Number one, I do not own the original or previous retail version of this kit, so there won't be any comparisons. Number two, by looking at the manual, I can definitely tell that the main base of the mobile suit, basically the Gundam Deathscythe EW itself, is the exact same build. The only difference is the backpack with those extra wings. So if you happen to own the original version, you're not missing out too much. I'd like to point that out. Alright, so let's get on to the review. So let's go over components as usual. So first of all, what you get, of course, is obviously being the Gundam Deathscythe EW. You get the Gundam itself, and other than that, on the backpack you see is the beam size that is stored on the backpack. And hand-wise, I'm currently using the fully open hands for left and right, and on the left arm you will see the Buster Shield. Now, compared to the TV version we saw, as kids, it will definitely have a different design, but still, it works the same way as far as I can tell. Alright, let's go over other components. So first of all, here's what you're supposed to get. So number one, you get two beam effect parts. Number one is for the Buster Shield. Here's the beam effect part, very long. I'll definitely say that. And then the beam size effect, definitely once again a long and chunky green clear plastic piece. And then we get a pilot figurine of Duo Maxwell standing up. There's also a sitting version for the pilot cockpit seat in the mobile suit. And then here we have some hands. Other than the hands, we have the action-based connector. So in total, you get 4 sets of hands. So currently the one I'm using is the fully open hand. Now you may see this hand is your multi-purpose hand finger. So basically these are the interchangeable finger ones. Now these ones, oh come on. So these ones you see here are multi-purpose, but you won't be really using these ones on this Gundam because these hands usually are meant for like holding beam saber hilts, which not many actually do have. I believe, like, I would assume maybe Sandrock and maybe Gundam Wing would use it, but yeah, these hands are pretty much useless in this kit. And then you get some fist hands right over here for left and right, so that's good. And then you're pretty much going to be using these hands. These are the ones that you use to hold the beam size, because these things has these pegs inside the hands, and then on the beam size itself, there's a lot of holes that you can actually attach the beam size on. I'll mention that later. And then here we have a sticker and water decal sheet. So number one, we do have some stickers. Number one is this one's for the eyes, obviously. These two are for the head cameras, which on the inside are clear pieces. So I decided to color the camera section with metallic green Gundam marker, so I did not use them. And this one actually is a pretty odd piece, if I have to mention. So it's also, you put the sticker on top of another clear piece, which is on the waist section. So once again, I decided to use a green metallic Gundam marker, so I did not use those as well. I will try to point them out if I can. And then here we have a Waterslide decal sheet. Once again, I haven't used anything. I'm not a big fan of these, and since, to be honest, we never see these type of markings in the anime ever, so which is why I don't really use them. Alright, and other than that, here we have some leftover pieces. So number one, we get some leftover polycaps. Well, technically 2, but you get my idea. And then here we have these wings parts. So these are these parts would be, originally they would go onto the backpack on the side, but because of the new backpack, you don't actually use these, so they are leftover pieces. And then this one is the original part that you connect the boosters on the back on each side. Now they did change the piece for this. The only changes I can tell would be that these are currently ball joints, but now they changed it into normal pegs instead of ball jointed connections, which is kind of hard to connect, but still works. Alright, so we've seen the basic components, so let's go over the articulation. So I would like to mention that the backpack does make the kit a little bit back heavy, so you might sometimes see me take off the backpack if it's necessary. Okay, so let's go over the basics. Since I don't own the original, I may as well review this as well, fully, instead of being a simple review. So number one, here we have the head. Now the head was kind of tricky for me to build because number one, those yellow parts were not easy to put in because they just lie inside there until you finish building the kit, building the entire head. The eyes were a sticker. Now the head camera, you see, that's supposed to be a sticker, but behind that, that's actually a clear piece, which is why I decided to use a green Gundam metallic marker to color that in. And there's also another one on the back there, so that's also colored. And the head can go down that much, up not so much. 360 twist, I would say it's possible, but unnecessary if you ask me. One thing I had trouble with making the head was the faceplate. Now the faceplate, the connection is very odd. I mean, it's either you have to fit it in the exact position, or it's just very stiff. So I wasn't really able to fully connect it in, so I had to actually glue the faceplate in because not the faceplate itself, but the red chin section that actually connects to the back head piece, and that thing does not really go in that well. So which is why, yeah. Hope that was just my issue. And before we go to other articulation, let's look at the body. The body has the cockpit section, which I keep forgetting how you open these things. So I believe this one is the one you pull down and you reveal the pilot on the inside. Okay, that's good. And then I believe you do have some body ab crunch going on here. And then the shoulders are pretty good. I mean, they do move forward and backward, but of course they are technically on the stiff side. And then with the wings, it might be tricky to do so. So I'm going to take off the backpack actually. So I'm going to take off the backpack to show you guys the general articulation of the mobile suit itself. Because obviously with the backpack, with that size, you can definitely tell that there's going to be some issues going on here. So number one, we can go rotate the arms 360 with no problem at all. And then the arms without the Buster shield, you can go more than 90 degrees. But with the Buster shield, it might, hinder the process because it's colliding with the shoulder armor part, and the arm itself has a nice double jointed bend, or not exactly double jointed, but still a good range of amount of movement. And your hands are your typical ball jointed hands with the moving thumb going on here, and each arm has these holes for the Buster Shield connection. Now you might have noticed something popped off on the back is the back skirts. Now usually this is pretty uncommon, at least for me, because with these type of back skirts that has ball joints, they are very hard to connect. You have to like push it in really hard. So the front ones, that's how they work. Back ones, not so much. They pop out a little bit easy, so they don't really have a click connection. They just somehow lie in there. So you can see I'm just popping it off pretty easily. So that's one downside of the kit, if you have to ask me. And the side skirts also move. So yeah, so one slight movement and they do tend to pop out. So just be careful not to lose the piece. The front skirt armor, they hang on pretty well. Of course, sometimes the white section here might pop out. Not the entire thing, but just like the part separation may, fall off. So the waist, so the body itself, you can't really go 360 entirely because the front skirt, the crotch section is kind of blocking that to happen. And then the legs have your typical side swivel going on here, and you can technically go, a lot if you know how to move the front skirt. They kind of move in odd directions. And then backwards, I mean, you could technically go, but of course you can go more, but you're gonna pop off the back skirt as well. And sidewise, as far as come on. Now the pieces are kind of stiff, so I don't want to risk it. But you can see it's one of those pieces where it's very stiff, so you can technically go to the side, but just be careful not to break the piece, because these are one of those pieces that you can accidentally break because of the stiffness. So yeah, and I'm not gonna risk that. So yeah, we still have the basic articulation going on here with the nice dope bend going on here, and your ball jointed feet, and with the ball jointed feet, and then we have a nice pivot going on here, and I believe this thing does have a slight toe bend going on here. You can tell by the moving thorns on the feet. Now the knee sections, these things look like they have articulation, and the answer is no, so don't try to force them to move around. Alright, so we've seen the basic articulation of the mobile suit. Definitely, compared to the TV version, we are seeing much more white compared to black, because the TV version we see on the anime definitely had more black, and definitely had a more different design than this, at least. Which, if they do actually make a master grade of that, I might actually go for that. And the last sticker that I mentioned that was kind of odd was this section right over here. They have a camera on the crotch section, which I guess that could be helpful, but kind of odd still. And then we have the Buster Shield going on here. The build was definitely interesting. So you can split this up, and I believe these are one of those systems where if you move one section, the other section moves together. So yeah. So I will assume if you try to make them move individually, you might actually damage the crank system there. So don't try to force it. Forcing is never good. Okay, and here we have the backpack. Now this is basically the folded up version which you saw. So as I mentioned, the main connection from the main middle backpack to these thrusters, they have now changed into pegs. They do rotate, but not smooth enough. So, and plugging them entirely all the way in was not easy, because when I first built it, there was actually a big gap there. So and later I realized I have to push it in all the way, and that was not easy. I was actually worried that I was going to break something. Okay, so let's see how much articulation we have. So number one, we have this articulation on the back, so 360 is possible, but I don't think you'll be using that much of that. And then we have this articulation where you can go forward and backward, like that. I believe this yellow sword does not move at all. We have this section which moves up and down, which is one of the main articulation here. And then we also have this section where you can extend the part. And then, yeah, we have also this section which also moves up and down. You can also kind of move it up, but not so much. And you can see there's these tabs that connect to each other. So as I mentioned, if you want to do these the folded up version, this is like you have to tab in everything entirely. Yeah, some parts are kind of stiff, but they all work pretty well. And the end sections here do not move at all. So that's pretty much all the articulation you guys saw. Alright, so that was pretty much it for the articulation and such. So I'll be right back with the demonstration. Okay, I'm back. So I basically attached the Roussette unit, or the wings, onto the backpack and gave it the beam size on the right hand, and then on the left arm I gave it the Buster Shield, the beam effect part. So currently, as I mentioned, the way how the hands with the peg works is that on the beam size you have all these empty gaps in the weapon. So all you need to do is just plug it in whatever you want. Of course, there's in some middle sections you might see a gap, this kind of section where it looks a little bit thinner. So that's the part where you actually connect the beam size holder onto the backpack, which I'm pretty sure you guys saw at the beginning when it was rotating. So yes, this is the part where you attach or store the beam size on the backpack. And regarding the action-based connector, which is right over here, it may look like it just plugs in, but I've tried plugging it in from and it doesn't really go in that smoothly. So I suggest you just slide it in from the back, like the way how the Master Grade Thunderbolt Gundam, Full Armor Gundam works. And yeah, and regarding the, how should I say, the Buster Shield. Now, the beam size effect part, this one just plugs in pretty well. But the other one, the Buster Shield version, now the manual just tells you to do the same thing, just plug it in. But it doesn't really work that way as far as I can tell. So what I would suggest you to is to take off the shield from the arm and then attach the beam effect part from the below section, because there is like a smaller peg that you need to connect. So yeah. And I think that's pretty much it because for the review. So this was the review of the P-Bandai exclusive Master Grade Gundam Deathscythe EW Roussette unit. It was definitely a fun kit. There were some issues such as the faceplate or the back skirt armor, but they were just really minor issues that could be fixed, and doesn't require too many stickers. And those wings are definitely a nice extra touch because as far as I know, the wings or the Roussette unit gives the mobile suit or this Gundam the ability to fly around now, because up to this point, I believe the Wing Gundam was the only one that could fly around in its bird mode or its jet mode, basically. So yeah, it's good to see that, you know, have the same Gundam but to have more abilities going on here. And the backpack also is not a too strong connection, so if you want to detach the backpack anytime you want, that is no issue at all, because I know some people, when you recolor the kits, you need to disassemble some parts, and while disassembly, some parts may break. So I think this kit doesn't have that many issues regarding that aspect. And yeah, if you don't have the retail version of this or the previous version, basically, I say this is a good catch or a good kit to try out. I don't have it, and I really enjoy the kit. But of course, if you already have the original version, you might not have too much fun other than making the backpack, unless you're a big fan of the character and the Gundam. Anyway, thank you for watching the review. This was the review of the P-Bandai exclusive or P-Bandai exclusive Master Grade Gundam Deathscythe EW Roussette unit. If you guys got any questions or requests, even comment below. I still have more stuff to buy and build and make reviews out, so please stay tuned. Until then, see you guys next time!